And on the Brock Faber track, for our friends at MNW Prospects, MNW Young Guns, you'll find them under either moniker, regardless of what social media you go look at. They wanted us to address real quick, specifically from the Scott Wheeler interview that will drop on Wednesday with Fellowship of the Rink, and I guess Z and myself, talking about the potential for Buium to step in and be similar to Brock Faber when he jumped in with the Wild at the end of the very sad end of the Gopher season. We're not going to get into that. Enjoy.
I don't know if he can have the same impact that maybe Faber did right away. Maybe they're different kind of players. I don't know if you see that. Like maybe kind of unfair to expect him to come in and be right in the playoffs and then next year be Faber.
I try to always temper my expectations and not get carried away. And I try not to fuel the fire with fans, but I truly believe that Zeev's ready to come in and contribute this spring once his season at Denver's over and play in the playoffs and be a good player right away. Now, is he going to play 30 minutes like Brock Faber did as a rookie? Probably not, but no, I can't remember the last time a defenseman other than Brock Faber, and although Lane Hudson has played some pretty ridiculous minutes this year. But even like Aaron Ekblad wasn't playing those minutes. Rasmus Dahlin wasn't playing those minutes. Owen Power did right away play 24, 25 minutes a night in Buffalo. But I could Zeev Buium next year play 20 minutes a night for them and then you've got Faber playing 26, 27 and Zeev slots in immediately on your second pairing and immediately on one of your two power plays. I absolutely think he's capable of being that kind of a player right away.
Fans are going to take that and run. So for our friends at MNW Prospects, we'll get into Buium here in a second, but reasonable question from Cole. Who's out then? Chisholm? I feel like Chisholm's already out, sadly. I don't support it, but I don't know. But go ahead, Z. How do you feel about that sentiment? Because I know, like, you and I generally preach caution just because Buium's younger. He's also not the same player as Faber. Way higher upside. I think we can all agree. But, like, talk about it. What's the outlook for Buium this spring?
Yeah, so, like, what made me specifically in that interview with Wheeler, it kind of got the wheels turning as far as like being a little bit more optimistic is the idea that if he can come in and you can have him on that first power play, and just given the fact that he would either be playing with Faber or Spurgeon, probably Spurgeon, you're able to shelter his role defensively to the point where he can play a lot more with the puck. Again, I think for me, like this spring makes me, I'm still going to be very, very cautious about like how much I am willing to really like bank on him, like getting into that lineup in a playoff run or it's in the first round. And beyond or whatever, but like for next season, you obviously then you have the opportunity to kind of experiment. Like, can you put him and Faber together? I think at this point, Faber has just become one of the best like defensive defensemen, but even just like all around D-men in the league. Like how much he plays, the assignments he gets, how he like rarely has a game where like he just has a out and out rough game. Like he is just like established himself as a premier defenseman in this league, and like. You probably, if you wanted to go like a Spurgeon, Middleton, Faber, Buium next year, you're probably not too concerned. I mean, like also Brodeen's around too, so there you go. I didn't even think about that too. So I guess it kind of at that point maybe he's playing more third pair, I guess. But I mean, but where I became more optimistic is the fact that like given the fact that you have Spurgeon and Faber there. And you probably at that point would like not need Faber to do as much offensively on the power play, and Buium can play more power play, more offensive, like just like with the puck in general, and let his game adjust to the NHL. Like as far as defending goes, it makes me more so optimistic that he can come up and actually be like an impact, at least offensively, from the back end. And I mean he's solid defensively in his own right as is, But if he's not having to go up against like, you know, what the other team's top 6 shift in, shift out, and you can like kind of ease him in, that makes me more optimistic that he can come in and make a pretty legit impact pretty quickly. This spring, again, I'm always going to be very, very cautious about jumping from the fucking like from NCAA to like playoff hockey. I think that's just like, why would you even do that to the kid unless he just comes in and does what Faber did, like literally. But like, again, very, very, very different player, but like super, super high upside, probably more upside as far as like just like factoring on the score sheet and everything. But given the fact that you can shelter his role as far as like what his matchups look like, what his role is defensively, like he's going to have more room to kind of like adjust to the NHL speed in terms of like his play with the puck. He's going to get some power play opportunities, and like that probably also like frees up Faber too. I mean, at this point, Faber's proven that he can play like 29 minutes a fucking night, but like if you don't have to have him on that power play, that probably helps out the power play too. Even though Faber, again, he's proven that he can just be a factor at both ends of the ice. But that's the thing I started thinking about more, is like he probably bumps Faber off that power play. In that way, he can kind of like let him adjust to the game a little bit more in his wheelhouse versus like, I mean, Faber like stepped onto the ice and they're like, all right, every top matchup, yeah, that's yours now. He's like, yeah, no problem. I don't think you have to do that with Buium.
Yeah. And for me too, like I'm going to call it this until Buium comes in and basically just like takes over the power play for good. Bringing him in to be exactly what we wanted Kalen Addison to be is perfect. Give him sheltered third pairing minutes and let him go out and cook on the power play. Like there's nothing wrong with that. He does not need to be a 20, 25 minute a night player. But if he comes in and belongs, like Billy's not going to send him down to make someone else happy. Like it is going to be a matter of he's got to freaking prove it, because we said it last year. We didn't think Faber was going to play in the playoffs. And he played well enough that Guerin had no choice. And look at that. He was our best goddamn player. I don't know. He's definitely not going to be playing the minutes and the meaningful role that Faber did, but I can absolutely see a world where he's playing round.
Well, it's interesting too, because like if he does prove that he can like run a power play at the NHL level better than like anyone the Wild have right now doing that, like he's still impacting the game in a huge fucking way for this team specifically. That's what's like so interesting about like this, like again, the prospect pool of young players the Wild have already is just like there's so teams that have the ability or have like this diverse of a prospect pool, this much upside in their prospect pool that like, yeah, you might not think of this guy as like the top player at this position or whatever, but collectively they are fucking like, they are. That's, I mean, Wheeler talked about why he had him or the Wild like second overall in his rankings. But there's just so much, there's such a diverse skill set, and like again, maybe not guys or not as many guys you think it was like a premier like 1 seed, whatever, first pair demon, except I mean at this point Buium and Faber both like project to be like that anyways. But like the ability for them to throw out that many young legit players that play at like top of the lineup is crazy. But again, it's gonna be interesting to see with Buium, like outside of the power play, what who is his partner? Like who is he playing with? Because if it's Bogosian, like I don't like that. like probably is Bogosian next year. Like that's what I'm like, oh fuck. Okay. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm more looking at it like start of next season. But again, I do think once Denver's done, he'll obviously get a few games because I think that timing lines up pretty close. See how far Denver goes. They've been playing weird the last like month or two. Month and a half. But like I do think there is a legit path for Buium to be a legit impact guy as soon as like puck drop game 1 next year. I think there will, again, I'm going to be very interested to see who's playing with, but it's always funny too, just looking at his track record the last 2 years, like winning literally everything that he is. I mean, riding with Dave Carl, like they just can't lose. It's insane. It's unbelievable. But yeah, no, just like a few of the conversations that you got, or two of the players you guys talked about in that interview, like it was just like, it's always nice to get those guys on because there's so few people that we talk to who like actually invest a whole lot of time in like the prospect pools in general, like around the league. So it is cool because that's what I like trying to listen to or read about, just because like it changes not necessarily like opinions I have, but like the way that like I kind of like forecast players and stuff. So it was cool to listen to you guys talk about some of those guys. But yeah, the Buium thing's fascinating now. I'm still gonna always be cautious about stepping into the NHL playoffs.
Yeah.
Right after college, but yeah, no, it was interesting.
We'll see. We will see.